Paris Saint-Germain are back-to-back Champions League winners, the first club to retain the trophy since Real Madrid's three-year reign ended in 2018. The match went to extra time, 10 penalties, Gabriel's fifth kick went over the crossbar, Marquinhos lifted the trophy, and Kylian Mbappé, PSG's all-time record scorer, watched both finals from somewhere else. Mbappé, watching the club he carried for 7 years win consecutive European titles without him is either the greatest irony in modern football or the clearest possible evidence that something genuinely structural changed in Paris. We are going to show you what was it. Not the celebrations, not the trophy photo. We are going further back to the precise moment PSG decided to stop building super team and start building a football club. Because what happened in Budapest on the 30th of May 2026 didn't begin there. It began with a decision made 3 years earlier that almost nobody at the time believed would work. If you want to understand football beyond the scoreline, from the historic collapses to the tactical revolutions, welcome to Football Deconstructed. Subscribe and let's break down the beautiful game. Let's start with what this club used to be. Qatar Sports Investments took over Paris Saint-Germain in 2011. Over the next 12 years, they assembled one of the most expensive squads in the history of the sport. Neymar arrived from Barcelona in 2017 for 222 million euros, the largest transfer fee ever paid for a single player. Mbappé followed from Monaco for a deal that reportedly reached 180 million euros. And then in the summer of 2021 came arguably the GOAT of football, Lionel Messi. Before them came Zlatan Ibrahimovic, Thiago Silva, Edison Cavani, Angel Di Maria, and others, each signing designed to close the gap between domestic dominance and European success. PSG won Ligue 1 consistently throughout that period. The Champions League was a different matter. In 12 years, the club reached exactly one final, in 2020 in Lisbon, played behind closed doors during the COVID-19 pandemic. They lost it 1-0 to Bayern Munich. That was the furthest the model ever went. The 2021-22 round of 16 exit against Real Madrid illustrated why. PSG held a 2-goal aggregate lead at halftime in the second leg with Messi, Neymar and Mbappé all on the pitch. Real Madrid overturned it. Karim Benzema scored 3 times and single-handedly turned the tie over. The tactical diagnosis was visible to anyone watching. When PSG didn't have the ball, their 3 forwards contributed almost nothing defensively. They didn't press, they didn't track opposing runners, and they didn't cover ground. In Ligue 1, where possession figures regularly exceed 70%, that structural gap rarely caused them. Against Real Madrid in a knockout tie, it did. The board's response over the following years was to replace managers rather than reassess the squad. Thomas Tuchel was dismissed, then Mauricio Pochettino, and then Christophe Galtier, who won a record 11th Ligue 1 title in 2022-23, before also being eliminated in the Champions League round of 16. 4 head coaches in just over 5 years, with the same core squad and the same underlying problem each time. In July 2023, PSG appointed Luis Enrique on a 2-year contract. Enrique had been out of management for 8 months following Spain's elimination by Morocco at the 2022 World Cup. His previous club job had been Barcelona, where he won the Champions League in 2015 3-1 against Juventus in Berlin, with Messi, Suarez and Neymar leading the attack. His salary at PSG was reported by L'Équipe at approximately 12 million euros per year. Enrique's Barcelona side is worth examining beyond the trophies. That 2014-15 squad pressed aggressively, maintained compact defensive shape and demanded defensive work from its forwards. The individual quality of Messi, Suarez and Neymar was real, but the system was not built around protecting them from defensive obligations. At his PSG unveiling, Enrique addressed how he handles players of that profile. "I've been to Barcelona, I coach big clubs, I had stars," he told reporters. "The players are selfish and smart. They engage with you if they know you are there to help them." The implication was clear enough. His system would make demands and players would be expected to meet them. By early 2024, with Mbappé's contract approaching its final months, Enrique made the club's position clear in public. In February of that year, Enrique had said about the forward, "Sooner or later, we have to get used to playing without Kylian Mbappé." On the 10th of May 2024, Mbappé published a video on social media confirming his departure. His final match for the club was the Coupe de France final on 25th of May. His contract expired on 30th of June. Real Madrid confirmed the signing on 3rd of June. PSG received nothing. The recruitment that followed was built around a specific set of criteria. Players under 25, technically capable, physically willing to press, and coachable within a collective structure. In the summer of 2023, Enrique's first window, Bradley Barcola, arrived from Lyon for approximately 45 million euros. Ousmane Dembélé, future Ballon d'Or winner, joined from Barcelona for 50 million euros. In the summer of 2024, João Neves joined from Benfica on 5th of August for 65.9 million euros. He was 19 at the time, a central midfielder who could drive forward with the ball and function as a press trigger in the center of the pitch. 12 days later, Désiré Doué arrived from Rennes for 50 million euros. Doué was 19, had just competed in Paris Olympics with France under-23 team and had been pursued by both Bayern Munich and Chelsea before choosing PSG. In January 2025, Luis Kvaratskhelia was signed from Napoli. Fabrizio Romano confirmed the fee at 70 million euros, potentially rising to 80 million with bonuses. Napoli had signed Kvaratskhelia in 2022 for 11.5 million euros. He was 23 when he arrived in Paris. During that same month of February 2025, PSG extended the contracts of Hakimi, Vitinha and Nuno Mendes through 2029, a signal of institutional confidence in the direction the squad was taking. The cumulative spend on Barcola, Neves, Doué, Kvaratskhelia and Dembélé came to somewhere between 270 and 295 million euros across two windows. Neymar alone cost 222 million euros in a single transaction, and Mbappé cost 180. The rebuilt squad cost approximately the same as two players from the previous era, and it has now won consecutive European titles. Enrique's system is a 4-3-3, but the formation label matters less than its operational logic. The structure is built around 5 vertical lanes in possession, with the full-backs Hakimi on the right, Nuno Mendes on the left, pushing high enough to function as wide attackers. The 3 midfielders rotate, with Vitinha and João Neves serving as the primary ball progression engines. Out of possession, the press is immediate and coordinated. 5 to 8 players collapse over the ball carriers simultaneously, with each player moving to a pre-assigned position rather than simply chasing the ball. The objective is to close passing lanes rather than win individual duels. Forwards are required to initiate the press. There is no exemption for attackers. That last point is the tactical distinction that separates this PSG from its predecessors. Under the Galactico model, forwards rarely engaged in defensive work. The practical consequence was that when PSG lost possession, large portions of the pitch were left uncontested. Enrique's system eliminates that gap by design. The 2025 Champions League final, played on 31st of May at the Allianz Arena in Munich, was the first demonstration of what that system could do in the competition's decisive match. Inter Milan had eliminated Bayern Munich and Barcelona en route to the final, and set up in a 3-5-2, a formation intended to provide defensive compactness and physical control in midfield. PSG scored in the 12th minute with Vitinha threading a pass to Doué, who squared for Hakimi to tap in. 8 minutes later, Dembele drove forward on the left, found Doué on the far side, and the 19-year-old finished off his chest 2-0 before 20 minutes had been played. Doué added a second in the 63rd minute, Kvaratskhelia scored in the 73rd, and Seni Mayulu, 20 years old, a product of the PSG academy, converted a fifth 4 minutes from time. Bootmob, using Opta data, rated PSG at 7.8 for the performance, Inter at 5.9. The 5-0 scoreline was the largest margin of victory in the history of the Champions League finals. In 2024-25, PSG also won Ligue 1 by 19 points, Coupe de France and French Super Cup. They reached the Club World Cup final where Chelsea defeated them 3-0. 4 trophies from 5 competitions entered. Retaining the Champions League the following season required a different kind of performance in the final. Arsenal had finished the 2025-26 league phase with a perfect record, ending 10 points and 10 places above PSG in the standings. In Budapest, they conceded possession, averaging 24.7% across the 90 minutes, the lowest figure recorded for any team in a Champions League final since Opta began tracking that data in 2004 and defended from a low block. Kai Havertz scored in the 6th minute and Arsenal held that lead into the second half. PSG managed 1 shot on target in the first half. In 65th minute, Dembele converted a penalty to equalize. Neither side scored again in 90 minutes or in extra time. In the shootout, Gonzalo Ramos converted first for PSG. Arsenal's Gabriel, needing to score the 5th kick to force sudden death, sent it over the bar. 4-3. PSG retained the title. Asked about the campaign afterwards, Marquinhos said, "From the very first day of this season, the coach said it's hard to win, and winning twice is even more difficult, though we all had to get back to work." That was the mentality. Hakimi, reflecting on Enrique's role, said, "The coach is a big voice of the club. We follow him, we trust him. Since day one, he told us the team is more important than the player. We have created not just a team but a family." Qatar Sports Investments' account of how this happened positions the shift toward a collective model as a planned, long-term project that began when Luis Campos joined the club in June 2022. His contract was extended through 2030 in May 2025. He is presented as the architect of PSG's new recruitment philosophy. However, Qatar Sport Investments spent over a decade assembling expensive squads around individual talent and did not win the Champions League once. The 2021-22 exit to Real Madrid from a 2-goal lead was not a marginal failure. The 2023-24 semi-final exit to Borussia Dortmund, a club operating on limited resources compared to PSG's, was not either. The Galactico model's ceiling in European competition was consistently lower than its domestic one, and the gap closed only after those players were no longer at the club. What Campos and Enrique built replaced a failed approach. It didn't continue on. What the ownership deserves credit for is that they appointed Enrique, backed him throughout 2023-24 season that ended in the semi-final, and extended his contract in February 2025, before the first Champions League title was won. Campos was given the authority to recruit without reverting to star signings. Enrique's contract, according to reports from Goal.com in April 2026, is in the process of being extended to 2030, with terms that would place him among the top 3 highest paid managers in European football. PSG between 2011 and 2022 spent at a scale that few clubs in the sport's history have matched, assembled squads with some of the most recognizable names in world football, and did not win the Champions League. PSG from 2023 onwards signed players under 25 for fees that individually represent a fraction of what the previous era spent on a single signing, demanded tactical obligations from everyone on the pitch, and has now won the competition twice in consecutive seasons. The difference was not the budget. the spending in both eras was substantial. The difference was the willingness to impose a system on the squad rather than build around squad's preferences, and to hold to that system through the periods, like in 2024-25, when it merely didn't qualify for the knockout phase at all. 2 Champions League trophies, no Mbappé, the evidence is on the pitch.